Who remembers this then? 2012 Peter Gabriel reissue So, and this was the controversial Super Deluxe edition. And the reason it was controversial was because it missed off so much content, it was ridiculous. There's no B-sides, no remixes, no 5.1 mix. I mean, it's a beautifully packaged set, as we'll see in a second, but content-wise it's pretty abysmal. Before we dig in, let's have a look via the all-important backing sheet. Let's remind ourselves what was on this, or what was in this box set. The first CD was the remastered version of So. The second CD, which is still unique to the box set, is a demos disc called So DNA. Instead of being a series of individual demos, it takes each track on the album and goes through from very early demo to kind of finished version. It sort of traces the kind of progress of each song. Very clever idea, actually. It was quite well done. That's one of the sort of highlights of this box set. Then live in Athens 1987, CDs 3 and 4. Then there's a DVD of Live in Athens, not a Blu-ray. The Blu-ray later came out separately. And the classic albums DVD. And then you get a 12-inch vinyl of So. And then there's a double A-side vinyl with 2 new, previously unreleased tracks on it. That's the contents. Now it is good. I mean, I have to say it looks very nice. Let's take a look. It's quite artily done, this. So this is kind of like a textured sort of linen type feel box. There's some nice, if I put it into the light there's some nice spot varnishing down here with various symbols which represent all the songs, I think. So there's Sledgehammer, for instance, there. That must be Red Rain, you know, you get the idea. You can see I must have bashed mine, which is extremely annoying. You do have to be a bit careful with this. It's quite easy to get mucky handprints on it. But, you know, it looks good, very minimal. So the box opens up like that. There is a name for these boxes, which I can't remember what it is. So this is the album. So it comes in a kind of uncoated blue sleeve. It's got some, that's called debossing. It's not embossing, because it's instead of sitting proud of the card, it actually is indented, so that's called debossing. So they're the symbols that we saw before. I'm just trying to get that in the light. There you go, you can kind of see it there. So this is the album on vinyl. Now Peter Gabriel, he reverted the track listing to how he wanted it, so it's not the same as the original. So In Your Eyes goes at the end. You know, he insists it's how he always wanted it, but I don't like the new version, to be honest. Not ending with we do what we're told, or this is the picture, is just a bit weird. Obviously this is black vinyl, there's nothing, no special coloured vinyl or anything. So that's the vinyl record. This is a 12-inch record, basically. It's not an album, but it's very much done in the style. So they're the 2 new tracks, and then on the other side is Don't Give Up, this alternative version, which I seem to remember isn't amazing. I think it's a bit different. So that goes in there. Obviously you can see they've done it the opposite way around for this record, so it's red on the outside, blue on the inside, and the actual record is blue on the outside, red on the inside. So then what we're left with here is the good old hardback book of the album. Here are the discs, sort of pink insert. So that's So DNA, the 2 live. I mean, this was available as a very cheap 3 CD lift off lid version with the album and the 2 live discs. So that was sort of like, you know, $11.99 or something. So you could get most of this quite cheaply, but obviously the DNA disc is the big one. So anyway, if you go through this book, it's just lots of nice note from Peter, some quite good detail about the recording, period photos. I mean, this book is good. I remember at the time he reached out to everyone and said, send me your photos, your clippings, and we're going to put something together. There's the HMV display in Oxford Street, I think that is. And then they ended up not using any of it in this book, so that was a bit weird. This box, I think this box set is still, you know, fairly easy to get hold of. They used to sell it for like 50 quid. Early storyboarding for the Sledgehammer video there. So this is a good book. I mean, there's no point pretending otherwise. It's nicely done. It's actually better than I remembered it to be. The other two discs are the DVD of the Classic Albums documentary, and then the DVD of Live in Athens. So that's that. It's pretty straightforward, but for those of you that don't remember, I'll put the links on the SDE site, but this was a very interesting period for this was kind of the early days of Super Deluxe Edition, and it was 2012, and I'd written an open letter to Peter Gabriel, really pointing out how this set was lacking somewhat when it came to what people expected. I mean, there was no B-sides, there was no remixes. Fine, there was a bit of unreleased stuff, but no 5.1 mix as well, when you consider there'd already been a DVD with most of the singles as a 5.1 mix. That was the most disappointing thing. The album lends itself so well to a 5.1 mix, or it would do. The interesting thing was Peter Gabriel, you know, wrote back and responded, and he wanted to do what he thought was a good idea. He didn't want to follow the herd and do what everyone else was doing, but ultimately these are supposed to be about presenting something for the fans, something the fans are going to want. And we'd waited so long, for 25 years to be precise, for them to kind of gather all that material from the singles together and present something comprehensive. It's extremely disappointing when that didn't happen. That's kind of like an understatement. So that made this memorable, really, just the fact that, you know, Peter Gabriel, fair play, he bothered to respond. There was a whole load of coverage around this box set. It does take me back to all that, looking at this box set. You know, putting all that to one side, I mean, what a fantastic record this is. It's a brilliant album. I still love playing it to this day. So this is Paul from Super Deluxe Edition taking a look at the Peter Gabriel So 25th Anniversary Super Deluxe Edition.